So, one of the questions I get asked a lot is how we approach bullying with my kids. I've got a 5-year-old and a 12-year-old, and with the 5-year-old, we've already started talking about safe versus unsafe people and healthy versus unhealthy relationships. And we did the same thing with our older daughter as well. But when the 12-year-old turned 9, there was a much more established group of mean girls that were, for lack of a better word, terrorizing a lot of the classmates, like making them cry on purpose, boys and girls, making them feel bad. Um, and so when we had this discussion, and I guess one of the girls had said something to our daughter that upset her, but of course she had to come back because that's just how she is. Um, and one of the things that I was bullied when I was in middle school, and so I remember what that felt like. And I think a lot of people who have gone through something like that, they still remember, right? It was still very painful. And I think middle school and high school are very common ages, and or maybe that's just when we remember it more vividly. But I remember feeling a little bit like there must be something wrong with me. Like, why is this person picking on me? And in my case, it was like they really were just picking on me. I was a new kid, and so to address that kind of feeling, with the 12-year-old, we started talking about. I let her tell me, right? I let her tell me what happened, like what was said, how she felt about it. I asked her, "Oh, okay, so how did you respond, and how did you feel about that?" And she wasn't crying upset; she was angry upset. And so after that, when she was, when she had explained what had happened, I started asking, oh, why do you think that is? A lot of times when kids are like that, it means that they're angry or they're upset about something. And I didn't do this to excuse the behavior, right? Like I made it very clear. Like, we need to understand the why somebody would do something like that, but that does not mean that they're allowed to treat you that way, right? There's a boundary there. Um, and what this does is it actually flips the script, right? The attention is now on the person who's being mean, on the bully or the kid who is bullying. And the shame goes to that person as well, because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but a lot of times when there's the person who is being bullied, the kid who's being bullied, usually we're like only fixating on them. This is what you should do. This is how you should react. This is what you should say, and oh my gosh, that must make you feel so sad or so angry or so upset or so hurt, or, tomorrow you should go say this, like there's a lot of focus on the person who has experienced the bullying. And with that comes some shame. For whatever reason it is, there is a sense of shame that comes with that. Like, they need to fix something. And if they fix this thing, then it won't happen to them anymore, right? And instead of looking at that as a sense of empowerment, sometimes that can be absorbed as like a sense of, I should have done something differently. And remember, a lot of times these are kids that are experiencing this on both ends. And they're not really able to process things outside of what they've experienced. So they don't understand from the bigger picture what is happening and like who's actually wrong, and that they shouldn't be blamed and they shouldn't feel guilty, and that there is nothing in the world that anybody can do, any vulnerability that exists, that's an invitation for somebody else to hurt you, right? So I flipped the script, and the spotlight is now on the mean kid or the kid who's bullying, right? Oh wow, this person must be really upset, must be very angry, because no happy child would go around and make other kids cry on purpose for fun, right? And asking my kid, like, would you ever do that? And she's like, no, I would never do that. And I'm like, yeah, because you're happy. Like, you just want to be happy and do your happy things and go enjoy life with your friends who you like and feel safe. And there must be something going on with the other kid, and they should definitely not treat you that way. But, some kids are having a rough time. And so there's also a doorway to empathy, and not for the sense of forgiveness, but just from the sense of like, now it's not personal. If this kid is doing things because there's something wrong with them, they are experiencing difficulties or something that's going on in their life, then it no longer becomes about the kid who is experiencing the bullying itself, like the person who is in pain, right? And that's another thing. In her scenario, I asked her, is it just you, or is she like, are these kids like talking to other kids? Are they doing this to other kids? And she's like, oh, it's everybody. I was like, oh, see, it's not personal. It's not nice. They shouldn't do that. But this has nothing to do with you. There's nothing wrong with you. They didn't pick you out because of some special reason. Like, they're just mean, and they're being mean to everyone. So Yeah, I know. I just wanted to share that because I think it has been very helpful to externalize it, and I've noticed that within this class, my kid is very unaffected, one of the least affected, if affected at all, by those mean kids all throughout. So she's 12 now, and yeah, she just doesn't care. Oh, and another thing that I mentioned to her that I think is really important, and we've also started talking about this with the 5-year-old, is you are not going to like everybody, and not everybody's going to like you. And sometimes when somebody doesn't like you, you should wear that like a badge of honor because you don't like them either. And you don't want to be like them and you don't want them to like you, right? Like you are just so not aligned in terms of energy, in terms of values, in terms of any of those things. And so that just takes off the pressure of getting everybody to like someone, right? I think a natural default for kids and for us in general, humans, like we want to be liked, we want to belong. And I think it's also very important to point out that you do not belong to everybody and not everybody belongs to you, and that is absolutely okay. And in fact, you should find your people and your people will find you, the kind, people who are like you, who are compassionate, who are gentle, who are caring, who are resilient. And that has also been very helpful because now she doesn't have that pressure and I see how she moves throughout the world, same as a 5-year-old, because I didn't learn how to articulate that until that moment when my 12-year-old was 9. And so, yeah, it's very different. I can definitely see that when there's mean kids, it just doesn't touch her. It doesn't phase her. She's just like, oh, I don't like them. They don't like me. That's fine. Yeah. So if you find that helpful, then hopefully you could share this video with somebody else who might need to hear it. And to all the other adults out there who have survived bullying, who have at some point in time felt like there might have been something wrong with them, there was never anything wrong with you. Like I said, and like I like to say, even if there are things that we can do to make our kids more resilient, there is never any vulnerability that is an invitation for another person to hurt us. So